All right. We are live. Good evening, everybody. Wherever you may be watching us from, my name is Carlos Marroquin. Is my co-host Jackie Hernandez,
Hello.
and we are here live from. I am in Culver City, and Jackie is in what city?
And I'm in Highland Park.
In Highland Park. So I
Yeah.
want to welcome you tonight to our broadcast, Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. Tonight, we're going to be covering some of the results from the recent midterm elections. It's a lot of exciting things that has happened. There are some concerns about other issues, and we also need to look at the next steps moving forward. Our other co-host, Margaret Paez, will not be with us for a little while. She's taking some leave of absence. As you know, she's studying to have her doctorate on climate change and water. So, which is one I wish her the best and make sure that she stays doing what she loves to do and has been an instrumental part uh, of our Sunday show since we started. So I know her for many years and love her to death. She's such a great person to have around and just to know. So Jackie, you want to welcome the audience from your end?
Yeah, I think it's been a while. I also have was not here last week and the week before, and last week I was working at the election polls. So it was quite an experience, very tiring, and also very nervous about what was going to happen. And I think this week I was able to unwind a little, and I'm sure a lot of you in the audience also feel that way. We were waiting for this moment to know what the results were going to be and how everything was going to take shape. So I'm glad that everyone's here listening, and we're having this conversation together today.
Right. Well, great. So let's go ahead and get started and dive right into this because there's a lot of stuff that has happened actually. Some good, some bad, some concerning. But overall, there was this big fear that there was going to be a big red wave coming on, a tsunami, if you will. Some have predicted that they were going to take up in big numbers the House, the Senate, and anything in between. One of the biggest concerns that we have had is of course the MAGA people, those election deniers, and the people that are really extremists. That I'm talking about the right wing extremists that have been really creating a lot of chaos and harm to really to politics. We have never seen anything like it, starting with Donald Trump. The way he has still been denying that he lost. Sorry, loser, if you will. And this, of course, what happened on January 6th. We saw the violent takeover of the Capitol, etc. So all those things have been concerning, and we didn't know what was going to end up looking like on this particular election, especially because a lot of those people were running for office, and that is very dangerous because these people have an agenda, and their agenda is lawless. They either if they don't win, they will call it out that it's a fraud, and they just I mean the whole style of going about things politically has is very alarming and concerning, if you will. We do know that there is cases that there is particular problems that exist in voting. We know that we had issues on the 2016 election with Bernie Sanders. We know that. We understand that things do happen, and that there are people that are corrupt and that will try to block any kind of elections from being fair. But we also know that there are shenanigans that take place even before the elections with all these laws that are passed to suppress the vote. So that in itself, that's probably bigger than anything else because they prevent a lot of for fair elections to take place. But that's another; those are separate things. We got to separate everything. There was a danger of a lot of these people, MAGA people, white nationalists, very, very hateful people coming into office. We have one right now, which is again Green over in Georgia. You see her rhetoric, very violent rhetoric that she uses. And so that's the concern that we had. We had a guy from the Bundy group over in Montana that was running for Idaho, running for office, and 100,000 people voted for the guy. That tells you a lot. So the list goes on and on. What are your thoughts, Jackie? I mean, we've been monitoring. There was a danger of losing the House and the Senate, which meant that nothing would get done.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to think about because this time around, if for midterms, the turnaround of voters was pretty significant compared to other midterms. Usually people mainly come for the presidential elections, but they really showed up. And, young people, women, and Black folks came out. And when it comes to these issues, we have been seeing the danger. Like, we cannot just stand by. The system isn't perfect. We know that there's a lot of gerrymandering. We know that there's a lot of voter suppression, and we know that John Lewis Act did not pass because the Republicans know that if it's easier to vote, people will not vote for Republicans. Their policies are unpopular. And we saw this as well with a lot of the propositions and the measures all across the country. So to me, I was fearing, losing the House, losing the Senate, because historically it kind of goes like that, right? The pattern of winning the Democratic Congress and then losing it and then being horrible. But one thing I will say is that if the Republicans do take the House, right now we can safely say that the Senate is not going to be overtaken by the Republicans, and we are marking safe territory from Mitch McConnell being the majority leader. Thankfully, he's not. But I can say for sure, though, that if the Republicans do take the House, we're not going to see progress in a few years until we do see that change as well, because we're going to be seeing a lot of in the Senate stopping the bills from the Republicans that are going to be trying to come in. So at least we have the Senate who's stopping a lot of the bad bills terrible bills that Republicans might try, including the national abortion ban, for example, that would be stopped. Um, Also, we know that we're going to be able to have the judicial choices easier with the Senate control. So those are things that at least give me some peace of mind. But the one thing I will say is that I don't see any significant progress from Congress in these years until until the seats are up for grabs in the House and we can actually gain control of that again. So those are the things I'm gonna just say. Like, don't expect any. Any even more so, right? Even more so than already. But don't expect any progress. There's going to be a lot of trying to stop the Republicans from trying to pass these bills that are harmful towards women, LGBTQ people, and even Native American people. Right now, we are seeing the ICWA trying to be repealed as well and to appear in the courts. So that's one of the things, right? That we need to regain control to be able to stop all of these different ripple effects that we have seen from Trump taking office and appointing judicial folks that are conservative. So at the end of the day, I'm just seeing this from not even a win, but more so just a sigh of a little bit of relief, knowing that we're going to have a little more space to breathe and a little more space to organize, and also ensuring that the next elections, the next seats are going to be up for grabs, that we need to be active right now today, already educating people to get them to go out to vote for the next elections. It's always constantly going to be like that. We cannot just sit down and be like, okay, relief. We can rest, but also we need to prepare because this is still going to go on. We see DeSantis, he's pretty much confident that he might be the next one who takes power, and we need to stop him at this point because DeSantis is way more and dangerous, in my opinion, than Trump.
Right. So what's happening? I mean, we need to understand what was at stake here. The danger of the Republicans continue their agenda to be pushed forward. We saw what happened with the again, Roe versus Wade, how they again roll back all that. We seen all the people's rights being taken away. Little by little. Had they taken the House and the Senate, it would further make it harder for any of this to be stopped. They have an agenda. They are not going to stop. They're going to keep coming, and they're going to keep coming hard, really hard. And that's what Ron DeSantis stands for. We see what
Yeah.
he's doing in Florida. We see that how he's gone after the LGBT community, after books, just in schools. We
Yeah.
see how he was very anti-mask and has put he countered everything that needed to be done to bring safety to the people and resources, etc. He's been that kind of a guy. So, but
He even just wanted to point out he even has the election police now. Remember,
right,
and that's also intimidation and voter suppression. People who were previously felons and registered to vote, and thought that they could vote, they were just recently arrested because of these confusing laws that he was setting out in the as an election police. So we also have to realize, when it comes to this, the Republicans know gerrymandering and making it harder to vote is how they're going to win. And they're being so explicit now with what they're saying. And they're also afraid of the young people. I'm loving to see that because the days that I was working as a poll worker, I started on last Saturday, and I just didn't see any young people in the first days, like the early days. I was just like, wow, like young people are not coming. And I was seeing the statistics on like early elections, and it was so low for young people. But that last day on Tuesday, I just so many people from the 90s, from late 80s, from 2000s. I was like, yes, I'm finally seeing so many people. And those are the people who did come out strongly all across the nation to vote because they knew it was at stake. And now the Republicans are like all angry, wanting to increase the age to 21 because they say that we're not mature enough to vote because whatever they want to invent now. But I mean, it's interesting, right? You can sign up for the military as a 17 and a half. You can, buy a gun at 17 and a half or even 18. You can do all these dangerous things. You can be a police officer at 18. But for some reason, when it comes to voting and ensuring that we have this freedom to raise our voice in the ballot box, they're like, "Oh no, you all too young. You guys are too young to decide the future, but you guys can totally take a gun and do whatever." So those are just hypocritical points that they kind of bring up over and over. They're afraid of youth power. That's the reason why they're trying to ban books. That's the reason why they're trying to ban CRT. We know that this is an agenda for them to really get the youth to not participate in society. This is the reason why they're doing all these things. They know that the youth are not going to take it. Even when in Florida, the youth are not taking those LGBTQ laws. They're also defiant about that. So I have so much hope because I've been seeing so many kids and so many young adults actually realizing that this is not the future that they want. They wanted to continue seeing the destruction that's happening from the Supreme Court to our local laws to schools, school board meetings. All of those things are so wild that
right,
it all ties to each other.
right. So now, something that we saw that was very, very inspiring is across the United States, progressives won.
Yeah.
We have record number of progressives that actually won,
And policies, there's every like
and some of the policies that they be pushing for. So look, if we had there's a lot that we need to be feeling proud about, especially in the progressive movement, because our voices are not only resonating with the public, people are believing that and they trusting that and they want that. They
Yeah.
voting for the kind of candidates that are stepping up and their message that they are bringing. Here in Los Angeles, we have many people that have won seats over here. We actually taking over. We're going to be taking over City Hall at one point or another. We looking at the numbers that we are seeing. We're very excited because people are winning. Progressives are winning. Our message resonates because our message is a message of hope. And we have a young man, the first Jinsey that actually won
Yeah.
over in Florida, 25 years old, won in Florida in a red state, hardcore red state. He won out there. And he was, again, standing up for the issues that we all care about. Our message resonates. Our message is a good message. And I think that even some of the establishment are noticing this. They're
Yeah.
changing their rhetoric. They're changing their language when they are in their campaigns. They try to attach themselves to progressive ideas. Look, all that is good, but what we need is people that are going to take this serious and
Yeah.
are actually going to fight for the issues that we care about. That's the difference. You could go progressive all you want to, but it's how you vote. The fight that you put on. So we had the squad. We had little by little we have been adding a congressperson here, a congressperson there. And all of a sudden we are seeing big numbers. We are seeing big numbers coming about in the progressives movement to office, being elected to office. I was watching Ro Khanna. He's now a regular in a lot of these talk shows, Sunday shows. He's so constantly being invited. Nina Turner, these are voices, progressive voices that are well respected, that are being invited to come and speak in shows. Whereas before they didn't want nothing to do with us. They separated themselves. They're realizing that we have actually a strong voice and we are right on target with the issues.
Yeah.
2024 election is going to be about issues. It's going to be
Hmm.
about, housing, healthcare, all this other stuff.
Climate change. That's going to be a big one.
Climate change. So we know what Ron DeSantis stands for because most likely he's the one that they're going to stand behind. Donald Trump is already, he's done. He's pretty much done. But DeSantis most likely are the one that Republicans are going to be standing behind. What does he has to offer? So the question is, what do Democrats have to offer? Who will they stand behind? Personally, I don't think that Biden is the person that is going to represent the Democrats. He not only his age, but he just don't have he cannot go toe to toe with DeSantis. We're gonna need someone that everybody can stand behind. And unfortunately, right now, I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
I know that Governor Newsom, they keep asking and he keeps denying. We know that he wants this, but the
Yeah.
problem
We
is
see
that
that.
he went down on his word. He said that he was going to fight for Medicare for all. He
Hmm.
said that he was going to build so many houses. We still got major problems here in California, so he's got a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
and he needs to convince progressives that he's the person. And so far, he has failed miserably.
He has failed miserably, I have to say, because when he said he was going to run for single payer as a governor, that was if he had a bill and he was going to sign it. We had CalCare and he never signed it. So we know for sure. I'm sorry, but if he were to be the guy to try to convince us that he's progressive, that's definitely a no.
Right. So, there's a lot of work to be done, but we have 2 years.
Yeah.
We're going to see now what's going to happen. The area that we need to be focusing right now, where all attention is going to be at, is going to be in Georgia.
Georgia, yeah.
Is Georgia, between Walker and
Warnock.
Warnock. If Warnock is able to win that seat, and I think he will, If he's able to do that, then Democrats will be in a great position to be able to bring a lot of changes about. We're gonna see. We don't know that because they have had power before.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about Warnock winning is that Munching will no longer be a factor. You
Yeah.
know, he will be pretty much doesn't matter about his vote. He's not going to be a factor. So the Democrats need this really bad. They need to that little cushion, and then again, anything can happen to anyone at any given time. So there's, it's not a big majority that they have. It's a
No,
very slim
it's
majority. So still
right.
not the best position to be in, but it's a better than losing the Senate.
Yeah, definitely. I think that one was I just donated to Warnock because I was like we need them to get all those text banking, all those canvassers. We need the people out there. So I did that because to me it's one of those things where if we want to see that change, we have to partake in it, in any way that we can. So definitely to me, I hope that he wins. And I hope Georgia really comes out and votes, because the thing is, like, when you see the results from Georgia, you're like, I mean, the people who voted for Republicans were all the white people. White woman, what are you doing? I don't understand. Like, they literally pick white supremacy over understanding how their bodily autonomy and everything could be at risk. So that was very disappointing to see. But at the same time, black people came out and vote. You cannot say that black people aren't doing their part. Like, they're there, like, pulling all the weight. And Latinos, I'm very disappointed in you too. 50 something percent, 54, 53% of Latino men, and this about the same, like 55 or no 52 or so percent of Latina women were voting for the Republicans. Now there's a lot of complexities about Latinidad and how we're not a monolith and everything. I understand that. But at the same time, it's one of those things where where us Latinos, we know that there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we talked about this like when Nadia Martinez and Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon, which, by the way, they're Cedillo and De Leon are not out yet. We need them to be out. But in those spheres, we saw how Latinos also can be not all there for the Democrats or the progressives, even because of all the complexities we have within white supremacy and colonialism and everything. But at the same time, if more Latinos would have voted for Warnock, it would have been such a safer territory for Georgia. But the fact that that really set off the numbers of how drastic that difference is between the Latinos across the country.
Well,
So those are things I saw.
right. But we do need to take a hard look at the Latino vote because the Latino vote is not secure with the Democrats. And we got to
No,
say
no,
that.
and that's kind of where
You-
the work needs to be done with the
Democrats need to be
Democrats.
paying attention because they're going to end up losing
Hmm.
the Latino vote.
Yes.
The people that gave the vast majority of the votes to Ron DeSantis in Florida were Latinos.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Latino vote. Can you imagine that? But
Yeah.
you got to
We're
look
not
at the issues. You got to look at the issues that they care about. And
exactly, and it's not all immigration.
right,
It's not everybody has a person who's undocumented and cares about immigration amnesty. Some people really don't. Some people really pride themselves of coming here legally and all these other things. So when it comes to also other issues, they're pretty conservative. I think if it wasn't for some issues that, like, if it wasn't for the Republicans sometimes calling Mexicans racist terms, right? I think more Mexicans would flock to the Republicans, but I feel like the Republicans do also offset some Latinos to the point that Latinos usually do vote Democrat in that sense, but it's not safe. And here, someone just said on the comments, Latinos will not vote for LGBTQ. That's very true. In many senses, we do see Latinos like not very, very being very LGBTQ friendly, like really having hostile feelings towards that. So those are just kind of issues where sometimes Democrats need to pay attention to what we actually care about. Latinos do care about climate change. Latinos do care about jobs. They do care about some of these issues. So let's get them there at least for the meanwhile. We also do the educating part, and we have to do that within our families. I do that a lot. Like that's one of those things where we need to shift things within our friends and our family and circles, because at the same time we need to have those conversations. I feel a lot of people don't want to talk about it because, like, oh my God, we were having this dinner. We want to talk about politics, but you still hear people talking about how rent is going up, how jobs are really not paying them well. And those are issues where we can talk as progressives and let them know, hey, these are the solutions that would help for housing. These are solutions that would help for our job situation, climate change, all of that. So those are just some things that I'm seeing, that when it comes to Latino votes, there's a lot more conversation we need to have, and Democrats need to do a lot more work in smaller elections as well to be able to get people out to vote for the bigger elections.
Well, the thing is that, look, you could talk about how much you care for the community, but if your policies are different, doesn't matter
Yeah,
how
that
much you
too.
say that you are for the people. People can
Hmm.
see right through. And see, that's what happened over here at the LA City Hall. It's
Yeah,
like for
yeah,
such a long time, they've been selling us Kool-Aid. They've been telling us, oh, we for you, we for you. And then people have been left behind. You know,
yeah.
it is so shameful. It is beyond belief that we have so many people sleeping on the streets,
Hmm. And fearing
and
for
they
their
keep telling us the
lives.
same thing over and over. People are
Yeah.
fed up with that.
And just to give you a sense, like when people talk about depression and mental illness, I just saw a story yesterday of a tenant who died by suicide,
Right.
because they were about to be evicted and they didn't have anywhere to go. And those things happen. Like suicide is not just a mental illness, and it just doesn't happen naturally. Some people, yes, but many times it's their social conditions, lack of housing, lack of food makes people come into a really horrible state of mind where people suicide is an issue. It's an issue that includes housing, that includes lack of health care, that includes all of these things, that policies that a lot of politicians failed to pass.
Well,
So that's what it
Jackie,
is.
when I see what's happening with our seniors, people that have worked all their
Hmm.
lives,
Yeah.
and then they have to struggle. And then the people that are in the food lines are
Yeah.
seniors, are senior citizens. They work all their lives, but then
Yeah.
now they're standing on the food line because they cannot make ends meet, and they are
Right.
constantly being threatened that they're going to cut more services, that
Right.
they're going to take away from this, they're going to take away from that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, look, it's both sides. I have always said this: it's
Yeah.
both
This is.
political parties that are failing the people.
Hmm.
I don't care what Republicans tell me; they don't have the working class back. They don't.
Yeah.
I don't care what the Democrats tell me. They have not stepped up to the plate. They are not been doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
Everything that they claim is pretty much false. It's just a mirage.
Yeah,
You
or they don't
guys
go
need
far
to be.
enough.
No, it does. They don't go far enough.
Yeah.
It's
And
either you.
and I just want to point out too, like all of these policies that we're talking about, they're popular. We know they are popular in the general public. If the Democrats wouldn't do it, or the Republicans wouldn't do it, people are going to vote for it. And can I just go down the list of things that a few of them, just to highlight? South Dakota voted to expand Medicaid. Missouri legalized cannabis. Nebraska passed $15 minimum wage. Collective bargaining won in Illinois. The pro choice ballot initiatives are winning all across the country. Okay, people have rejected to ban abortion in many of these red states, and in some of the states too, including California. We have passed abortion protections to include it in the Constitution or other measures like that. And then we know that also a lot of these measures against police, or not just against police, but like oversight for police, and even with Villanueva being pretty much behind on the polls, we see that people do care about police accountability and police change, because these things are not just passing without people voting for it. These are direct votes. People, when it comes to voting for legislators, we know that gerrymandering is an issue. And we know that there's also more red in states where, actually it wouldn't be that red if gerrymandering wasn't an issue. But we see where the country is at when we see these measures passing. Every time there's been measures like this, most people vote for the progressive policies. So we know that people want progressive policies. If it was up to everybody being able to vote for $15 minimum wage, people would more likely be able to vote that than a Democrat sometimes even would, than a Republican for sure wouldn't. Those are kinds of the things where I'm seeing that where the country is at is so much more progressive than what the House or even the Senate looks like, or even the Democrats look like. So that's just kind of like a little analysis on that part.
Right. But the thing that needs to keep happening is like we need to keep showing up. We need
Yeah.
to keep organizing at the grassroots level
Mhm.
because we are actually the ones doing the work on the ground.
Yeah.
When the pandemic hit, it was the people, it was the communities that were organizing
Mhm.
themselves to bring about relief to their own people, to their
Yeah.
communities, to their neighborhoods. Why? Because the government was absent. Anytime there is all these natural disasters, who are the ones that mobilize first? Is the people that do
Yeah.
that. All these troubles that are happening in the streets and everything is the people that are out there, looking out for the communities.
Mhm.
The fact of the matter is that, and I am inspired by this, is that people are organizing. Our young people
Yeah.
are on fire. They are on fire, and they're going to keep coming and they're going to keep doing what they need to do because the world that we are giving them is a pretty nasty world that
Yeah,
they have
definitely.
inherited. And now they see that they have no choice but to get involved. So we commend them. I mean, we should, if the Democratic Party was smart, they will get behind the young people. They will organize with the young people. They will help the young people. But it's all about themselves. We got people in there that have been decades in office.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, retire. Allow other people to come in. Bring energy. Bring new ideas. That's what is needed.
Yeah, and when it comes to the internal powers of the party, uh, there's there's like positions are called ADEM, and I forgot exactly the entire word for it, but it's basically people who are selected and voted on into the Democratic Party, into the central core of it, and they're the ones who endorse candidates, who choose which issues the Democratic Party is going to talk about. They shape everything that the Democratic Party is going to do. That's where a lot of the power is. And these older folks who do not see or do not want the progressives, especially in the party. And the issue is the Democratic Party has a lot of money and a lot of influence to really sway these elections for the Democrats. And when we have folks inside the core party having this control power, and choosing which issues they're going to talk about, choosing which candidates they're going to endorse and elect and support. We get a lot of the younger folks that are progressive being pushed out, and this is how obviously we see that a lot of grassroots folks trying to raise money on their own, right, and doing the grassroots way. And of course, it's so inspiring to see that a lot of contestants against the Democratic establishment can win, but at the same time, we do need that cohesiveness and power. And the Democrats are responsible for that. Given that this duopoly of two parties is such a prevalent thing, and we do need to consider that there is power to the Democrats having the resources to fund these candidates. So at the end of the day, the Democratic Party within that core that organizes the Democrats needs to change in order for the Democratic Party to even make a reflective change to the things that we talked about. So that's where a lot of the power is that I found out. And I had no idea what ADEMs were. I had no idea how the party organized. And I don't think we're supposed to know, because if it was, it would be way more easily available for us to know. So that's just what I wanted to share.
Right. I mean, you're right. Is all these things put together that we are going to be seeing more and more come about now because people are getting smarter, people are getting educated, people are
Yeah.
realizing that look, if City Hall is not working for us, we need to do something about it. And if these people are going to be in the pockets of developers, and rents are going to continue to go high, there is something wrong with that picture. I've
Yeah.
been saying this for a long time. There's something wrong with the picture that you keep building the same things that nobody wants,
Mm-hmm.
and you're only going to give a small percentage of affordable houses when you're building all these massive developments. You need to put a freeze on that stuff. You need to
Yeah.
stop that because
That's a
you're not
reason.
making things better. It's not going to trickle down, people. The housing that they are trying to sell us, trickle down housing, doesn't work.
Doesn't.
Doesn't work. Never going to trickle
No.
down.
And this is why Caruso is so dangerous. I'm still watching the race closely. We still have like, I don't know, 70% of ballots to be counted in some places. Some people have called it, depending on the calculations I've been making. But for Bass and Caruso, still kind of tight. I do hope she wins at the end. But if Caruso wins, this is the type of developing idea that he has, right? Just building luxury stuff and then trickling down to everybody else. That we know that's just not going to work. It's just so expensive already that the prices are not just going to go down at this point.
And talk about Caruso. One of the things where I just could not, believe the amount of money that he threw in there.
Oh
Uh,
God, that was a
a
lot
hundred
of
million
money.
dollars, just like nothing, and that was change for him. Literally, he could easily throw another. This is the kind of corruption that exists, and he
Yes,
wants to come
yes,
in like an outsider, like, oh, I'm here to save the day. There's so much corruption going on at City Hall. Well, he is the corruption. He is Mr. Corruption.
yeah.
and,
There's
and, and for
just
people to not have seen that and buy into his message, it's concerning because
hmm
people don't look beyond the words that are being presented to them. We got bombarded with so much of his
so
political
much.
ads. It
How
was
many ads did you get,
unbelievable.
Carlos?
Huh?
How many ads did you get?
Oh my gosh, it was like daily. It was a daily thing, and no
Okay,
matter where I went, you went to McDonald's and something would pop out in there when you're gonna order right there. It's like,
on Facebook, it was everywhere. I got it every day, like little letters, right? I never opened them, but everybody in my building, there's like a recycling bin where you can just throw everything that comes in the mail that you don't want. I have to say, those bins were full of Caruso. People just being like, "Oh God," and just dumping
but
it.
I'm gonna tell you what, it goes to show the power of money,
Yeah,
what
it
money
does.
is able to do. Because this guy, nobody knew Caruso before. A
No,
few people knew about him.
I actually had no idea,
But the
really.
vast majority of people didn't even know he existed, and he just comes in out of nowhere,
Like
throws out
Batman.
throws out all kinds of money in there, and next thing you know, he's total toe with the top ticket. So
Yeah,
that
I
goes to
was.
show them what the corruption of the money in politics
Mhm.
is.
I mean, I keep saying this, there is no healthy democracy when billionaires exist. There just isn't. Because when you can throw money like this and it's unlimited, you're trying to buy an election here. And if people can't see that, it's quite unfortunate because this is how a lot of us, you know, do get confused, right? Like, we already saw this with Donald Trump, and there was a mix of people voting for this guy. I thought it was interesting. I saw some folks who were like voting for Kenneth Mejia, who were like also pro Caruso, and I was like, how weird, right? Like they think like they're voting for. Kenneth, for example, he had a campaign about revealing corruption and being transparency, which played out. I mean, it really did well, and we saw that he was doing a lot of education out there on TikTok and social media on what's going on with different funds of the city and everything, and it worked because we do want to see that. We want to see transparency. But then it confused me when some of these folks also supported Caruso and were like, "Yeah, we want to know about corruption." And I was like, I'm so confused. I mean, like, yes, kind of this transparent, and he's showing us what's going on with our funds and everything. But Caruso, like, how is he? I don't understand. That really confused me. I think they thought that Caruso was also an outsider, and was gonna be doing also the anti-corruption path. But as we know, that just is not true. That's not how it goes. Just because someone says they're gonna go after corruption doesn't mean it's true. They have to show us where are the receipts, where is the work you're doing. We saw that from Kenneth. We didn't see that from this guy. He just
Right.
was saying putting cute things on his face, kind of thing.
Right. Well, the thing that got with me with Caruso was so easy because he comes in as someone that actually cares about the unhoused population,
Oh my
the
God.
housing. When he was the one creating all these problems with all these mass developments, push
Yes.
people, that gentrify communities, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, was the reason why a lot of these rents kept going higher. If you didn't see that, then doesn't matter, what anybody else would tell you.
Right.
The other factors, are the fact that he began to use people of color, where
Mm-hmm.
people of color were the ones that he hurt the most. And this
Yeah.
is typical of politicians. What they would do is, like, the very people that they hurt the most are the ones that they're going to try to use. But and he was a Republican. He was a
Yeah.
Republican just
Yeah.
a couple of weeks before he decided to launch for candidate. All of a sudden, he
Mm-hmm.
became a Democrat. So he's a Republican. He is a Republican.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too how I got text messages saying like, "Oh, I'm pro-choice," and what I found interesting was that like, I'm like, okay, um, you're still not really showing it. And again, this is a funny part because I saw like on Twitter and on other mediums, his sponsored ads like, "Oh, I'm pro-choice," and it's funny because some Republicans in there were like, "I'm not voting for you anymore. You are pro-abortion," and it was just so funny because this is how I knew that he was gambling the conservatives in LA to gain some of the Democrats, and because he knew right there that he was being targeted for being anti-choice because he was funding a lot of these politicians who were anti-choice, and obviously we were seeing that a lot of ads were being said about that. But I think that's the interesting part. He gambled those conservative votes. He knew that he was going to lose some conservatives when he was coming out of these ads, the pro-choice ads. But he knew that he could afford to lose those because he wanted to gain the other ones, the
Well,
Democrats.
one thing we know is that Caruso went after the Latino vote. He needed the Latino vote.
He did.
A lot of Latinos fell for his trap because he ran on safety. Latinos, are about
Yeah.
safety. They a family, etc. So he used those things that are obvious, very close to
Yeah.
Latinos. So
And
there's
jobs,
there's a
that's
lot.
the other thing again,
Right.
jobs.
There's a lot that we need to learn from what has happened here,
Yeah.
not only at the local level, state, and the federal level. And the
Mhm.
thing is that, and we're gonna keep saying this, our job just has begun. We cannot stop here. The
Yeah.
elections, they come, they go. The struggle that people continue, on, and we need to stay focused. We need to continue to do what we have been doing,
Yeah,
organizing
definitely.
and being
Educating.
and pushing, because they are not going to stop. They're going to keep coming back. They're going to try to discredit the few politicians that have made it, few progressives that have made it. They're going to try to sabotage
Yeah.
any kind of changes that is being brought about. Big money, that's what big money is all about.
Mhm.
But look, people, we just appreciate your continuing support, week after week. We are happy to be here. We have a lot of stuff that we're gonna be speaking to you about in the next few months, weeks. But it's coming towards the end of the year, Jackie, and there's a lot of people out there that are suffering.
Yeah.
People out there hurting. We have people, as you say, the story over here in Hollywood of a tenant that committed suicide because they were going to be evicted, and couldn't have themselves, seeing themselves out there in the streets living in a tent. I mean, these are their hard
Yeah.
realities that people are living with. People are hurting out there. People are struggling. They're scared to end up on the streets, and there's literally countless hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
people that are at risk of finding themselves on the streets. So the question goes to our leaders: is what are you going to do about it? Stop talking about it. We don't need tiny homes. Those are only tiny solutions.
Right.
We
That's
need
great to
real
say.
solutions. We need real solutions. And everybody, pretty much came up with a number. Oh, if I get elected, I'm going to build 30,000 homes. Well, build them. Stop talking
Yeah.
about it. Build them. What happens if you don't win the election? Still fight for it. Show me
Mhm.
that you really meant business. Then you have our respect. But if
Right.
you're only gonna talk big when you're running for election, and they forget about everything. It's like we give you no respect. You have no
Right.
respect. You earn no respect.
And I want to point out too for the housing issue, when people come out to vote as well, because the politicians are obviously failing us in many ways. But you Measure ULA, which is a funding for affordable housing and tenant assistance program, it's winning right now by 54.79% here in LA. And there was another measure for Pasadena. Let me just find it really quick. And basically, this
Yet they
other
actually
measure,
won.
I
Yeah.
think it's also ahead. I just want to double check just to make sure that I'm getting the number right. It's Measure H,
Eight.
and right now it has 51.19. And quite honestly, this is the reason why we say votes matter. It's literally a few hundred, like 900-ish votes from a difference, like from no and yes. So clearly shows you that every vote does matter when it comes to, especially to those propositions, and that when it comes to issues like rent control and funding for housing and tenant protections, people want to come out to protect that. Because right now, there's a whole talk right now as well in city council in LA to eventually end the tenant protections. And a lot of people are still hurting. They still don't have a job that is going to make them enough money to pay back some of that rent debt. So there's a lot going on. And I think as we move on and move forward, we have to really understand. Like I saw some posts saying like your vote doesn't matter, like why, whatever. I see these measures and I'm like, that is not true. When people come out to vote for these measures that a lot of times politicians fail to implement, people want progressive measures, and this is where we can show up and say something loudly, like we do care about this, we care about housing. So we have a lot of educating to do, particularly because this is how we're going to get people out to vote next time. We have a lot of educating as well to understand that the Republicans have been running a marathon ever since slavery was abolished. They've been running a marathon, and they know that this is a long game for them, and we have to too. Because when we don't, we're just trying to just say like, oh, this election, nothing happened, we're just going to give up. They're going to take the upper hand because they know what they're doing. They know that they're doing this on the long run. And we need to do that too, because that is how we're going to be able to go toe to toe. So the educating on that, I feel like a lot of people don't understand the legislation, don't understand how midterms even are. Like I got a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions on my DM on, how to vote, what's on the ballot, what is going on. And I felt like that was something that made me realize we have a lot of educating to do. I try to do
Right.
videos and things like that, because I was like, okay, I'm getting a lot of DMs. I can't answer everything one by one, but maybe a video will help, or maybe, so to some people who have some specific questions, I would try to do my best to make some time and answer it. But a lot of folks out there, we need to talk to each other. That's how organizing is going to happen. We can't just say organize and then hopefully that people will know what that means. Everyone has a role, and some people are educators, some people, are helping feed people, some people are helping, raise funds. There's so many things and so many roles for us to do, and we need to start right now. How you said, we need to start again. We need to start every day. So I'm just looking at this, at all the results, and I'm seeing that we're going in the right direction. The general population is going in the right direction, but we need to also ensure that people stay on that path. That is easy to get lost in despair when things are going wrong, but this is when we need to step in and be like, no, there's a lot of work we need to do, and it's not going to be easy, but we're seeing the fruition of our work here.
Right. I mean, for sure, something that we need to keep in mind that right now the elections are over. You know, we pause for a second, for a quick second, but we
Yeah.
start already.
Mhm.
We start looking, we start moving. Look at we gotta pay attention to everything that we done right.
Yeah.
We gotta look at the stuff that we done wrong, and then we create a path to continue to move forward based on those things. It's
Mhm.
like we don't give up, we don't get discouraged. We're not gonna win everything, But the stuff that we do right, then we double down and triple
Yeah.
down and do whatever we need to do. And the stuff that we are struggling, that's where we find out and come out with creative ideas of how we can strengthen those areas. But look, at the end of the day, they hear our footsteps coming.
Yeah.
They hear the young people coming.
Mm-hmm.
The young people are coming. The young people are
They're
organized. Young
here. They
people,
showed us they're here.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot to be grateful about. We have a lot to be inspired about, but we have also a lot to be concerned about.
Yeah.
We cannot close our eyes and think that oh, these things are not going to happen. Yes, if we blink, they're gonna roll over us.
Yeah, they
You know,
are.
they don't want to stop. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. We just excited because we're going to be having some guests that are going to be coming in. I'm constantly talking to people. Jackie's meeting people. We are there on the front lines. We are there, uh, you know just moving on and about, meeting the people, finding out about the issues that we care about. But definitely, we want to be able to be a source of information to you. We don't claim that we know it all, but one thing that I can tell you is that our heart is with the people. We want to make sure that what we are telling you is because of the people. We're not here to make a name for ourselves. We're here to bring about information, to help our communities, to lift our communities, to give voice to those people that their voices have been quenched and ignored. So shout out to everybody, all the candidates that run, especially the grassroots candidates that gave it their all. And unfortunately, some didn't made it, but they tried, and we're very very proud of you, of your work. You did it with no money. You pretty much sacrificed everything, and there is no such thing as you lost, because all of us win just by running and attempting to do the impossible. There is something that we all gain by that. So we want to give you a shout out for that to all of our grassroots candidates. Thank you for running. Thank you for the sacrifices that you made. Any last thoughts, Jackie?
I think I think overall when we think about the entire conversation we had, just to digest, right? There's a lot of wins, how you said. There's some losses or some, not, unfortunately, we didn't get to that finish line yet. We still have work to do, but be able to know that where is in the community that you need to be in. Where is it that people may need some space to talk, even in your family, your friends? I think it all starts there. I do want to emphasize that the education starts in our inner circles, so we can actually have more political conversations as we move on and move forward. There's a lot of hope. I do feel that us not seeing this red wave, as I said, it looked more like a Kool-Aid wave, but I think we evaded that. And at this point right now, I'm feeling more relieved and ready to continue the journey we're on.
Yes. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. You're watching Stand Up Fight Back, where we discuss a strategy and analysis for the progressive movement. I am Carlos Marroquin, your co-host, Jackie Hernandez, our other co-host. And if you missed the early part of the broadcast, our other co-host, Margot Pies, will be taking a leave of absence for right now. She's dealing with school and other things. But we just want to say thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to share us with your friends and let them know that we're here every Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We are hoping that next week we're going to have a guest with us, and we're going to start rolling in, looking um, into the end of the year celebrations. But for us, it will be an end of the year where we are out there with the community and doing whatever we can to support our neighbors that are struggling. I want to say thank you again for watching us. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.